Welcome back, everyone. Now we head on to the next session of the day entitled Helping Entrepreneurs Win 2021. Session number 2, which is Transparency in Building and Maintaining Digital Assets. Moderating this session, please welcome back Raymond Siva, the Senior Vice President, Investment and Brand, Chief Marketing Officer of Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, MDEC, with over 25 years of experience in journalism, strategic marketing, and crisis and issues response. He has conducted over 100 spokesperson and crisis trainings, messaging workshops, and talks in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. This I pass to you, Raymond.
Good morning, and thank you, Hassel. Good to be back again. I must say it was a wonderful session yesterday evening. What a robust conversation with Malik and Rennie on how to help entrepreneurs win. And today, no less exciting, as I have with me another two stellar speakers. We have on board here today Dr. Gopal, who's the Director of Strategy and Innovation from Redbeat Academy, and also Reza Razali, who's the founder of Terato Tech and KitaJaga.co, right? So I'm looking forward to a great session here today. We've got 1 hour in front of us. Very quick introduction to both the gentlemen here today. Good morning. Great to have you guys here. Dr. Ram started his tech journey very early, learning C programming at the age of 7. My twins are 8 and I think they're far behind, my dog. We got to see how to get them up to your level. He's got his PhD in artificial intelligence in 2011 and spent the next 9 years rising up the ranks of academia and seeking greater challenges beyond the ivory tower. He jointly founded a successful tech startup that prospers to this day. But the thrills keep coming as more adventures await at Redbeat Academy. It's the Director of Strategy and Innovation, molding young minds. And Reza, no introduction needed, but I still have to do this. Graduate of BBA in Finance from the University of Oklahoma, and is an award-winning serial entrepreneur. Reza currently runs Slurp POS and is also a custodian to kita.jaga.co. Good morning and welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Hi, Raymond.
How are you guys doing?
Fine,
great.
Reza, like I told you just now, I'm averse to the jersey that you're wearing. Tapi tak apalah. For the greater good of the digital knowledge that we have today. I'm gonna start with you first because he's wearing a Chelsea jersey. So let's start with you first, right? Transparency in building and maintaining digital assets. I mean, over the last 2 years, we've seen everyone is saying the pandemic has accelerated digital adoption. People are just going on full on the social platforms, digital platforms. Everyone's got an idea. Everyone wants to sell something, say something, do something online. Now, what's your take from your point of view, being an entrepreneur yourself and also now teaching skills? Do you need to build a digital platform? Do you need to have a digital presence?
Definitely, Raymond, right? As what you have seen the last 18 months, we've been in this pandemic. I ran a point of sale business, Slurp. We have seen our merchant sale, if they depend on just foot traffic, they would be down by about 95-97%. That's how bad it is for them. But if they are on third-party delivery platform, they would have still some revenue incoming in. But if they were actively collecting customer data and were doing digital marketing during the pandemic, these are the merchants who would hit at least 70% of their pre-pandemic numbers. So digitalization is a must. But the challenge that we see as well in the market is the last 18 months, suddenly all the businesses, all the 1 million businesses that's in Malaysia wanted to go digital. But the thing is, I saw a lot of the solution that's out there. It is for the older entrepreneur, right? They struggle quite a bit because they don't understand how I can just go to a website and set up my online web presence that way. So even for a lot of product out there, they expect a lot of the entrepreneur to be able to just go in, sign up using your email and set up the storefront yourself. What I discovered that a lot of these older entrepreneurs still require some hand holding to enable them to be onboarded successfully digitally.
Ram, I think that's interesting here because as you talk about, digitalization, and people need to know how to use basically this first, right? The mobile phone first, right? From your point of view and the skill sets that you are seeing coming through, for your courses, what are really the baseline skills that's required for people to go digital?
Well, the thing is, it really depends on what industry they're in. The depth of the skill sets required could vary significantly. But I would say that if you're going digital, you need at least a fundamental understanding of how networks, the basics of security, if possible, a little bit of HTML, CSS, something that gives you a grasp, or at least some, don't be tech illiterate. That's what I'm trying to say. Have at least a foundational knowledge on every aspect.
And how can someone get that knowledge? I mean, without going to courses, are there some, easily accessible?
In many cases, look, all you need to do is read, right? Most people say read one book a week. What it boils down to is always improving yourself. The issue when it comes to tech is that there are a lot of witch doctors now.
Yeah.
So you get these snake oil salesmen, and sometimes it's very difficult to verify who is telling what.
Yes.
So in general, what I would say is if your business, your profession, and your finances are reliant upon it, at least invest a little bit.
Right. So, yesterday there was Malik was from BFM was saying that, listen, he's not very tech savvy or digitally savvy, to be correct. So, so I'll get the right sort of skill sets to do that, because I'm good at this part, and I'll get somebody else to do that. But the reality is that a lot of tech entrepreneurs right now, or digital entrepreneurs, want to get something up and going very, very quickly, right? Reza, you have started Kita Jaga, right? How fast or how easy was it to get it up and running?
For us, yes. For us, we have been doing tech businesses for a while, right? We've been building apps for 13, 14 years. So for us to be able to build Kita Jaga, we were able to build that within 4 days because of the muscle that we built over the years. But I think for a lot of the entrepreneur that's just looking to go digital, what they could do is the beautiful of this pandemic, you see that people are a lot more open to sharing ideas, sharing frameworks and things like that. So what I saw is that in a lot of Facebook group now, people are sharing what tools are they using, what CRM tool, what payment gateway, how much it costs, and all that is very, very transparent these days. So I think that's the beauty of the pandemic as well. There's a lot more sharing that happen online, in which a lot of the boomers, you would say it, they're not on Twitter, they're not on Instagram, they're not on LinkedIn, but they are on Facebook. And a lot of this conversation, thank God, happening on Facebook for these people.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and say, okay, right now there's somebody here with a great idea, right? And he's going to sell widgets to some community out there. He sees a problem, he's addressed a problem statement, right? So he's thinking to himself, I need to go digital, right? I need to do marketing, I need to get this out. And so I've got my mobile phone. Can I go in yeza.io, for example, right, for social commerce baseline? I got my phone, I got my Facebook set up. I can do something like that. But to scale up, I will need at least a minimum a website, perhaps. Some people say, no, I don't need that. I've got Instagram, and I do social commerce via my Instagram. Ram, I want to get a sense. Firstly, is it necessary to have a website? Right? Because getting into that website, then you're talking about, hey, what do I build it on? PHP lah, do I do Ruby on Rails lah? If I go into e-commerce, can I use OpenCart lah? I have no idea, right? Is it necessary to get onto a website? And if they are, what are some of the basics that someone needs to be looking at?
If they're looking at long-term sustainability, then yes, they do need that presence. It's kind of like having, once this pandemic is over, you're talking about having a fixed storefront. You can't just be selling from your cart forever or selling via mail. You need an identity, you need a presence. So yes, that's the first part, right? The second part is, how do they reach out? What do they need to do to reach out? What kind of marketing? Well, it depends. Now, when you talk about Reza or Instagram, the thing about those audiences is that they're used to having stuff for free or really, really affordable. It depends what your widget costs. And it depends whether that crowd is the crowd that you're trying to reach. So yes, they are useful channels for marketing, but more and more, if you want to outdo the competition, you have to outdo them in a way that they don't have access to. And generally, having your own presence is one way of drawing the crowds to you. Like I think Reza has mentioned some time ago or recently about having your own data. That's the next step in sustainability.
So Reza, what are then some of, say, 5 things that you need to be aware of as you're going to start building a website, which is basically your calling card, kan? What are some of the 5 building blocks?
Sure. I think for building websites now, I noticed, right, this is my observation on Malaysian entrepreneurs. Before building a website, they would have their, they furnish their WhatsApp profile first, and then they would furnish Instagram, and then they would go and build Facebook pages, right? So the website is always something that they only look at to do once, let's say, the channel is no longer effective, so they're just looking for another channel to grow the business. So then they look into building a website. And then because for a lot of people, right, having a website, for a lot of entrepreneur, having a website does not necessarily generate sales for them. They don't get that instant gratification, unlike running campaign on Facebook.
Right.
So that is the challenge these days. We saw so many entrepreneurs, they start a business, they just go and run campaign on Facebook. Okay, they make some sales, but afterwards, maybe some problem with the advertisement or some problem with the product, they got banned for Facebook, and they had none of that data, right? So that became a problem. So what I would always advise any entrepreneur is, whenever you want to go digital, you need to have you need to go multi-channel from day one, right? So you have your WhatsApp marketing channel, you have your Instagram, you have your Facebook, and all these should lead back to your website, so that if anything happen on this third-party platform, you can still market directly to your audience via SMS or email. Because I think in the end, a lot of these entrepreneurs as well, they when they acquire user, they only thought that they could monetize off this user once, right? So that is also another challenge we see. They do not think about monetizing from this data, from a database that they have repeatedly. I think that's a challenge. So I think having a website will enable you to do that. You can do your email marketing campaign, you can do your SMS marketing, and you actually, as what Ram has said earlier on as well, you eventually hold that data, and you own that platform yourself, no matter how simple it is.
Ram, so on that note then, how are you guys, Redbeat Academy, looking at your digital assets and, like Reza pointed out, multi-channel from day one and to push it out. You guys are out there, 4,000 people walking through your doors, 100,000 employees across the whole group. And that ecosystem in itself, provides a very good starting point for you to use your digital assets. But you're also reaching out all the time to get people in through your doors. So how are you thinking about that digital assets? How does it all come together?
Well, if you look at how we leverage the presence of the group itself within ASEAN, right? And Redbeat is part of the AirAsia Super App. So we're talking millions within the existing database already, and a potential reach across the entire ASEAN region, 700 million individuals. What we do to leverage our digital assets is, first and foremost, we want to, eventually we want everyone to be on our platform. We keep developing and introducing new projects. What I mean by that is, not only do we ensure that our curriculum is always up to date, so we make sure that our alumni go out there and they are recognized. We also want to ensure that when you talk about the flexibility in terms of all of the lines of products that we offer, it crosses the entire digital spectrum. So when you talk about the curriculum, Raymond, security, really critical. even at its most basic level, if you have really bad security, you're in trouble. Your entire database will be up in arms against you, right?
Right.
And something as simple as ensuring that someone going through even an 8-hour course can build their own website. So that is value. So we bring a lot of value into the ecosystem. We want to inject that value. And I think through that, you get to see that you keep your database happy.
And so, Reza, when you were then building this, or based on also what Ram is saying, you know, the database grows as you have your website. You're able to then, you know, look at the Google Analytics, and then, you know, get the registrations in. So from building then to maintaining, I'm hearing that you probably need dedicated resources, and, you know, startups. If we're talking about startups, kecil kan, you're trying to optimize your costs as best as you can, right? In your mind, what are some of the basic core team members or skill sets that's required? Do you separate digital from web, or do you think, you know, there's a bit of an overlap in terms of skill set or people that you bring on?
Sure, I think obviously, Raymond, right? You definitely need to have separate resources. But my observation with a lot of SMEs, all this role is normally undertaken by once they got the digital bug, right? All this role would eventually, the first 1 year of the business, maybe, this would be undertaken by the founder itself. That's the trend that we have seen. The founder itself runs the digital business. So the challenge with doing that is, of course, you don't get to scale. You need to learn the rope one by one. So that makes scaling a lot slower for the business owner. So because you also have to understand, right? For a lot of SME, a lot of I'm talking about maybe retail SME, most of their employees, they rarely hire those maybe university graduates or those technology savvy, right? So they normally hire those maybe just clerk counter, maybe just 1,200, 1,500 a month. Those are the pay range that they are used to. So when you tell them that, okay, now you want to go digital, you need sort of like a website developer, digital marketer, and one of these digital marketer going to cost you a few thousand a month, right? 3,000-4,000 a month. They normally they will not want to do that immediately. They would thought that, okay, maybe I can try and do this on my own. So that is what I've encountered for a lot of business owners, for them wanting to save a lot of cost up front. So they try to do things on their own at start. So I think what would be smart to do is to for at the start, I think the best way to go for a lot of SME, you should start and hire some small agencies, right? Someone in which you're able to gain access to digital marketer, analytics, and those who can maintain your website for just maybe a small fee. I think I saw a lot of packages out there, only about 1,500, 2,000 a month. You can get this role somehow embedded into your company, maybe not on full-time basis, but then at least you are able, as a business owner, you're able to focus your energy elsewhere and let those who know the job of doing digital marketing, doing analytics, maintaining the website, let them do that job for you.
Now that's brings me then to another, I think, a pain point that I've heard many entrepreneurs saying, right? So there's many choices on Facebook in terms of 1,500, 2,000, 5,000 Facebook. They bundle everything in together. Ram, how do we know what we're getting for, right? Because you say you pay peanuts, you get monkeys, right? And it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Too many animals in my sentence, but you know, that's the reality, right? You get in there, and after 2 months, you go like, oh my God, this is not working out, right? And on the other end, that guy is looking for the next client and the next client, and you know, as soon as he gets you in, you know, within 2 weeks, he's off to another client, right? So it's a real issue.
It is.
How do you assess?
Well, okay. I think rather than talking about how you assess, I would say that your number one digital resource is your human resource. So if you're going to invest, if you're in it for the long run, okay, if you want to make a quick sell and dash, then fine. Don't even bother with the website if you're in a rush. Right? Leverage on third-party resources initially and invest in making sure that your own asset is developed according to what you need it to be for longevity. Because you want the ROI. And it doesn't have to cost a bomb. It doesn't have to be the prettiest in the world. It needs to work, at least for a start. You can always get up there. And if you look at most successful, huge platforms, they always started with a kind of clunky version. They launch with this kind of clunky version, but the point is they can send out updates every month. Wonderful thing about tech, you can't renovate a physical store every month, but heck, you can deploy a new website every 2 weeks. But if you're at the mercy of the vendors, especially if the vendor has taken you for a ride, then yep, it's going to be one heck of a ride.
So, I want to jump back to you, right? Because you're running this right now. And so we got a question here from the audience, right? From Chan. Some do pretty well on live streaming. Hence, they assume they don't need the usage of their own website, right? Reza, what's your take on that? I mean, we've heard it just now. I think we've answered some of that, but Reza, what's your take on that?
Yeah, the challenge with just depending on one platform, right? If you go to a lot of Facebook group this day, talking about entrepreneurship, you have seen how people are being banned from large marketplaces, how they are being banned from Facebook, how they are being taken down from Instagram, right? They had probably a few 100,000 followers, and just because of one incident, they can't get taken down. So those are the challenge of that, just having one channel. So that is why I would always advise, even though you run live streaming, you could always stream that on multiple channels at once, right? Why just depend on Facebook when you can also stream it on probably other channel as well. So even on the website. So that's what I would suggest people look at, people do.
Very, very. I think that's spot on. Here brings me to then the next question here by Anonymous. Ram, to you. What are the best Anonymous? Don't play. Yeah. Okay. What are the best practices to determine which web developer a business should choose, aside from goal alignment and cost? How can business owners weed out the developers that have an attractive portfolio but cannot deliver or aren't transparent?
Wow, this is kind of like determining if a security agency is going to be able to save your life when the time comes, So that's why I say sometimes you have to go with some faith. Yes, you can look at their portfolio. You can start off your development in phases. To me, that's what that is your safety blanket. So roll out your development in phases. So every phase, get them to deliver on something rather than having one huge deliverable at the end of 6 months, where you're paying, say, 500,000, 500K. Break it down into sprints and look at their delivery via every sprint. So follow the agile methodology, right? I think that protects a lot of the clients from, being taken for a ride.
So, yeah, great.
Reza is right about platforms. Not only can you get banned, sometimes platforms change their policy overnight, And if you look at OnlyFans, they recently had an announcement. I mean, that's going to affect the earnings of a very, a very special demographic of business people. But still, the fact that they've chosen to demonetize an entire segment of their base just goes to show you how much at the mercy you are of these platforms.
Reza, from Morgan, thank you for building the Kita Jaga web app. Is the future of website building going to get simpler? And if yes, how will it get simpler for both the business owners and developers themselves?
Definitely. For a lot of business owners these days, if you want to dabble into building your own website, there are a lot of these tools called no-code, low-code tools. It takes time. I mean, although it says no-code or low-code does not mean it's easy. It works right out of the box. It does not. It still require you to take some time. And best if you have an immediate need to have an online presence, best you engage those who could assist you with this process, right? So I think from our end, as we demonstrated Kita Jaga, the availability of a lot of API cloud services, you can build a website that can serve 500,000 people a day within 4 days. Those are possible these days, but of course. There are also, as I say, the availability of these low-code, no-code tools would make it possible for a lot of founders to look at how to build simple CRM, simple marketing funnel, simple internal ERP to improve the processes. So those are really possible these days.
Right. You build something and expect people to come also may not be the best strategy lah. Yeah, there has to be like you said, multi-channel in terms of, I call it directional signposts in the social media to take you back, for example, to your main website. Live streaming is just another way to maybe have little bursts or little special sales or whatever you're doing on a campaign basis. Ram, what are you thinking about in terms of getting people into your digital assets? And really, if you can share some of the best practices or tools in terms of putting the honey or the sugar into your website to get people to come in.
One thing is people don't invest enough in the design, right? A lot of I'm a tech guy. I'm a technical guy. If I designed a building, it would look like a prison complex. So I know that's not my forte. So we have really good designers, and the truth is, it's human nature. We like pretty things. We like a good experience, right? From a technical perspective, you want the security to be through the roof, but that makes the purchasing journey really miserable. There is no customer retention when you put them through hell just to buy one product. So even if you have the world's biggest funnel, you're on every distribution channel, you're on every social media, and you are bringing the traffic at your site. Your job and the job of the design is to keep them coming back.
Correct. Yeah.
So you talk about UI, UX, very few people focus on it, but it's really critical in maintaining your digital presence.
Reza, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. So there are two things here, right? One, you have a B2B play, which is Slurp, and then you have Kita Jaga, right, which is open to everyone. How are you thinking about both?
Yeah, I think for Kita Jaga, it was started by another my software house. So we love that experience because it's very peer-to-peer. We try to design it decentralized. So even for our community now, it's like a crypto community, right? People gets into a Telegram group, they request, I want this feature. Can you ship it out? And whenever we ship out new features, we announce it in the group, and people are happy. So so we love that experience. It's serving, when you serve a consumer, when you serve a user base that's very tech savvy, their requirement is very different than, let's say, Slurp. Slurp, we serve B2B. So their requirement is they want system which is stable. Maybe if the UI is great, but then UI is great, I love it, but then what's more important to me is the stability of the system. I don't want to have to call you 2-3 times a day because thing doesn't work in the restaurant. So so I think there has to be a balance. For a lot of fast-paced innovation, we have been able to do that with kitajaga.co. In fact, we send code update every 2-3 days to the software. In fact, within the last 2 months, we've shipped the iOS version, the Android, and then the web app. The web app is now at version 1.07. So we've shipped 7 major updates within the last 2 months. So my point here is building a software that serves the consumer. Not consumer. When you build something like Kita Jaga, you're dealing directly with public. The user base is a lot different than serving a user base that require a system stability, and as what Ram said, something very secure. Is different than something like Kita Jaga.
I want to go to Ram a bit later on, but I want to do a follow-on question with you, Reza. A lot of guys also think about, okay lah, kita build a web, it's web-based, but then there's some designers who are coming in and say straight away, no, you got to think about app straight away, because people on mobile phone saturation is there, so good to go on an app straight away, kan? But then if you think about it, then building an app is a lot more expensive. You got to think about, again, the user journey, so on and so forth, number one. Number two is then the downloading of that app. You need to market and get a better ranking of that app. And nowadays, a lot of people dah banyak sangat lah. So I mean, the likes of Redbeat, who sits on that super app, is a different thing, right? You pull everything in and you've got all of it in there. What is your take in terms of starting from an app or a web-based thing, say for e-commerce? What would be a better way to start?
Sure. For me this day, always app first. So you only have one single code to maintain, right? So if you want to go and build, I'm saying web first, not app, because building an app require you to go and manage 3 different code base. So that becomes very expensive for a lot of SME. So when you build a web first, we've been looking at our user that use Kita Jaga. For something simple like Kita Jaga, about 90% access the application daily using the browser. And also it's easier and cheaper to market, right? If you wanted to market an app, to get one app downloads costs you about 5 to 10 ringgit per one download. But then for you to drive one user to the website, which you can remarket to indefinitely, that one click maybe costs you 15 cents. So unless your lifetime value, let's say, kalau you dah acquire one user, and then the cost of that one user can generate you automatically a few thousand ringgit, so maybe it's worthwhile to build an app. But for something in which you build a product or you direct them to a website in which your product is only 50 ringgit, it's not worthwhile to pay 5 to 10 ringgit to acquire that user just for that one-time purchase, right? So maybe back then the website makes a lot of sense for that purpose.
And Ram, what is your take on that? Web app?
Actually, I agree with Reza. You just start with a proper web application. Make sure that it's optimized for mobile, because there's one thing that everybody has in any device, it's their browser. So to play devil's advocate, of course, if they install your app, then they actually have to take a few steps to get rid of you. They have to actually uninstall you, and you push notifications and all. But that's a bit more long term.
Right. And so going back to the stability and safety of your digital platforms that we're having, so cloud seems to be the way to go, right? That's where everybody is at. How does someone think about getting onto a cloud when you're a startup and so on and so forth? You don't have this expertise. What are some of the key things you need to think about when you think about cloud?
The costs, because there are a lot of hidden costs when you talk about going cloud. And for example, it's very nice when the cloud providers tell you that we can spin up an additional instance anytime your server is full. We'll spin up an additional cloud instance. If you don't set a limit, you will get a bill for tens of thousands of USDs at the end of the month, and you will be bankrupted. Some people always talk big data. Everybody, big data. Let's use some fancy thing. Some big data services actually cost you for every query that you make. So be careful with that. And if you write your code badly, and for some reason you query the database a couple of thousand times in a day, you're going to get one monster bill at the end of the month. So cloud is where you really, really need some professional advice. Educate yourself before going into it.
No, I didn't realize that. That's a really good point to make, right? And so we have a question again from Anonymous, right? I am a developer and I want to know, how do the panelists, in their experience as developers, create boundaries between clients' needs and clients' over needs, such as overcalling every time something is confusing? Ram, maybe with you first.
Okay. The hardest part about being a developer is when your client has zero development knowledge. Their idea of what developers are capable of is Hollywood. So you're developing an AI application for them. And the worst one is they give you a call and they're suggesting how you can fix it. It's kind of like a guy who knows nothing about plumbing, but he's coming in and telling you, okay, I know how to fix the leak. Why don't you do this, that? And unfortunately, look, make sure your documentation is good. That's what I would say. Make sure your software requirements document, your business requirements document. If you go into any project as the developer, make sure all of that is cataloged out, because clients love to put in these little magic changes, halfway through. Hey, can you change this? Can you add that? That will add to your cost.
And so then I'm going to come back to you, Reza. Another question from MR. Which party should be then responsible for awareness on project deliverables, given the tech jargons and all of that?
Right. So normally, if you wanted to embark on the project, internally, you need to have your own IT team, right? Whenever a lot of IT projects break down for a lot of SME, based on our experience, is when the business owner itself and the founder decided to be a project manager, decided to become the product lead. So that's where what Ram said earlier on, right? Feature creep comes in. Feature creep meaning you initially wanted a button to become you wanted the button color to be blue initially, but suddenly in the end you wanted it to become red and it pops up somehow, right, when you click the button. But to make changes to that request, somehow would just delay the development a lot further. So I would say I mean, for any SME that wanted to embark on building a proper project, you will have to have your own internal resources first, small resources. Only then you embark on developing your app or a proper, proper website, meaning that you have used Shopify, you've used Reza, you've used all these tools, and it's just something that it just couldn't fill your needs anymore, right? So you wanted something bigger, so then it's time for you to have to build an internal development team, a small internal development team. So once that project is done, eventually the development team, the outsourced development team could in-source back the development in-house.
Guys, I wanna ask you this, right? Because I've heard also many horror stories about, you know, you're excited, you're gonna build a website, you know, you're out there, you're saying, okay, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. Alamak, after, like, you know, 1 month, you have problems with the web developer has problems with your cat and all of that, right? And you said, okay, let's end it, right? Web developer then says, I'm not giving you the source codes, right? And there's so many guys out there who are like, I paid for it, it's mine. And then you get a developer way, no, I'm not going to give you the source code. What are some of the pitfalls right up front that both parties can come to an understanding and say, okay, the source code, macam you beli kereta lah, right? The car is yours anyway, right? I cannot just give you the car without a steering wheel, right? But you must pay me, and we decide halfway that, you know, the car needs to be. How do we resolve that, and how important is the source code protection, this IP? Ram first.
Well, it depends on what your agreement with your vendor and what the vendor's agreement with the client is. If it was never stated, then the vendor is not at liberty or does not have to actually deliver the source code. And this is where a lot of clients fall short. They don't understand that when they subscribe to a particular service or development, maybe, look, you buy Microsoft Office, right? You buy, antivirus, you don't get the source code. And you pay every year the licensing, right? So it really depends on the service and what agreement was signed. So all I say is make sure that agreement that you're signing at the beginning protects you legally.
But is that source code critical? I mean, I'm asking a silly question, perhaps.
It is.
So
I mean, if you're talking about making improvements, maintaining the website, and etc., yeah, the source code is basically the DNA.
Right. Reza, your point of view as a developer?
Sure. As Ram said, really depends on what was agreed on in the agreement. For a lot of projects, sometimes you only get the compiled binary, some you only get the finished product, but in a lot of time, unless it's stated in the agreement, rarely you get the source code unless it's been pre-agreed before.
Right. And should clients ask for that? Should owners ask for that from the outset?
Not necessarily. It really depends whether they have the capacity to maintain it anyway. It depends, yeah.
So brings me then to the next question from a business owner. Hi, I'm an SME owner, more medium than small. What are the panelists' advice on determining if I should invest in hiring in-house tech or developers for outsourcing it? Ram?
Well, it depends what your line of business is first. And from that, you need to determine what kind of revenue increase you would get from actually having this online presence and investing. It's an investment.
Right.
And you have to decide whether you are investing in something which will have a good return for your business.
Right. Reza?
Yeah, sure. I think I agree with what Ram said. First of all, you have to evaluate the returns, right? If the returns are worthwhile, of course you can have it in-house. If the return is not worthwhile, it's a pet project, it's something that may be worthwhile for you to use an agency before that IT business, that digital business become a core component of your business.
So the next question, right? When we talk about maintaining these digital assets, we've been told that social media, you go to 3 to 4 posts on Facebook, Twitter, minimum 2, make sure you engage and all of that, right? That's real time. Websites, right? So, in-house to outsourcing, usually when you have an outsourced partner, adalah 2 or 3 updates per month, X amount of hours and so on, right? What is your take about updating the website? How often should that be done? And before even that happens, is there a need to do it on a regular basis? Because, Ram, we talked about the experience, right? The user experience. That's probably not going to change every month. I may be wrong, but what's your take on that?
It should change regularly. If you're running any kind of socially related business, the look and feel should always be fresh. People like that. People don't like a stale website that's looked the same for even 1 year. 1 year is way too long. If you at any of the major platforms, you will see a revamp in UI coming practically every quarter at least. If you want to keep yours fresh, you always have to have something new, at least push new products, something that attracts people to keep coming back.
And
so, yes.
How often would that be in your estimation, Aram?
So look, when it comes to education, like at Redbeat, I'll give our own example, right? We introduce a new course every week. I know it's education, but we're not a traditional university where you can have the same syllabus for 5 years. The syllabus is revamped every intake, which is every 2 months. We introduce new courses every week. We even came up with a new product line where you get unlimited learning for as low as 35 ringgit a month. So, keeping on addressing the needs of the market, those changes, they happen all the time.
And Reza, on a B2B for Slurp?
Sure. For us at Slurp, we update our product once every 3 months. That's for B2B. But as I said, for Kita Jaga, we've been updating it every week. People, if we don't update it, people just go to another better platform, right? Because they have option. I think that's very clear for a lot of consumer. If they don't like what you have, they can just always. In this digital age, your customer are never loyal, right? Despite whatever you've done, if there's another shiny object elsewhere, they will just move on.
Right. So brings me then to the next question. Panelists, what do you think of social media becoming almost mini websites to a point that some businesses don't need actual websites? We talked about that earlier on, but what are some of the downfall in using social media entirely? So we talked about data, for example, right now. But maybe you want to take that first, Ram?
Well, they can change their rules at any time. So it's kind of dangerous. You have to decide, do you want to be selling on just a street corner? Basically, using social media is like setting up your little cart on the street corner. So you're doing good business, but who knows, one day they might come and tell you, oh, look, you can't sell here anymore. Okay. And that's it. Because your crowd think you're there and you're gone.
Right. That's a really good analogy, man. And Reza?
Yeah, definitely. I think I agree with what Dr. Ram has said. It's the same thing. You don't it's not your platform, right? So any time of the day, you could just they could just ask you to leave. So I think that is something that a lot of entrepreneurs need to.
Moving on to the final. Yeah. Moving on to the final segment, Reza. Thanks for that. Moving on. We got 15 minutes more to go, so I want to get into some real nuts and bolts here. We got a question here from Rosie, which actually segues into the final segment here. How do companies understand and identify their needs and their want? Because sometimes companies will invest based on nice to have, right? So, cantik lah website ni, right? I get the best. I'm going to spend 15,000-20,000 just to have it over the required features and functions, right? So, guys, both of you do separate things. I want to check with Ram first. What are the required features in your digital platforms? What is it that really needs to be done, and what do you need to be thinking of first?
Well, so if you're talking from the perspective of a product manager, right, product person, one is, in order to sell what you're selling or in order to do what you do, what are the key characteristics or key steps that need to take place from your funnel all the way into conversion? And according to that map, you can determine what kind of features, what kind of UI, UX. Look, if you don't need a payment gateway, you don't need a payment gateway. If you're not selling something, maybe yours is a social service. Can do away with a lot of that. But if you're e-commerce, then payment gateway is by default necessary. Then you talk about payment options, all of those different payment options. Who is your customer base? Do they even have credit cards? Do you even need credit card integration? Maybe all of your guys just like bank transfer. So these are where those nice to haves can be eliminated, and you can determine the best approach, the most cost effective and time effective, because remember, opportunity cost, if it takes you 1 year to get your site up and you've lost 1 year of business, well.
Yeah, no, absolutely correct. And Reza, that must resonate with you as well, as you're looking to, I suppose, lead generation and so on. But what are really some of the required features to get stickiness and traction into a digital platform?
Sure. I think first of all, you need to have your content, right? That's the first thing. You have a product, so then you have to have your content, and then with this content, you can run your digital marketing campaign. And from this digital marketing campaign, you need to funnel it somewhere, right? So it's either to something like Reza or your website. So then you decide. So I think that's basically the funnel that you need to look at. I mean, this is for something very, very simplified. You just need your content, and then you need your marketing campaign, digital, and then you need your website as well. Just 3 things. Yeah.
How important then is SEM, SEO, and content marketing? How important is that, Ram?
It's critical. If you don't have SEO, SEM, and content marketing, those are the basics. It's like going to literature class and not understanding how to read. Those are the fundamentals that I was talking about earlier. You know zero about that, you're in serious trouble as a business in the digital world.
Reza, what are you doing around that space? Do you agree with that or not necessarily? You go Google Ads and the like.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't have a good SEM campaign, right? Let me just see on our experience with self point of sale system. If we don't have a good SEO work being done, 1 keyword would cost us about 50-60 ringgit for each clicks. So that's how expensive it could be, right? So, but having an SEO well done, we just do some article and do some promotion with the article, and even within the next few months, we get free traffic, right? That would have cost us 50-60 ringgit per click if we were to market it traditionally.
Just for the benefit of our audience here, which seem to get quite engaged right now, can you help us define what is that to look for in an SEO? What is that to think about?
Wow, okay. First of all, the simplest thing is it boils down to where your website ends up in a search. Something as simple as a search. Even the response speed of your web page affects your SEO, right? The copywriting of your organization affects your SEO. Just what we do, that one line can affect your SEO in the header. HTML tags can affect your SEO. So it's quite a well mapped out science. And what I would say is, I think I said it before, invest in yourself. If you know nothing about SEO, the courses that are offered, whether at Redbeat or any other training provider, they're not expensive. It's worth it.
Reza, what are the building blocks of putting an SEO? What do they need to think about?
I think what Ram has said, that's what you need. You need to optimize the site first, ensure it meets the requirement of the bot that's going to crawl the website, and then you need to plan the content. For us, right, before this, when we tried to do SEO on our own, we were not ranked fairly high. But after we engaged a few digital marketers, I mean, there's some tricks behind getting the ranking lah. So you have to, and it's a journey. It's not something that you can do over 1 month. It's something that you need to focus on and allocate a resource to do this over 1 year. Then you will see the result. I think what people don't like about SEO is the result is not immediate. That's the thing.
And
so the ranking criteria change regularly. That's a lot of people don't realize that the search engine ranking criteria can change very often. So it's a continuous journey of improvement.
What is the ballpark figure for an SEO campaign, and how long should it go on? Ram, you first.
No, I wouldn't put a number on it. Honestly, it really depends on who you want to reach. Like I said, if you invest properly and you structure your website correctly, it will cost you a lot less. That's all I can say. It will literally take care of itself. rather than pumping out ads, rather than just buying ads blindly. Some of that funding invested in making sure that your own site is optimized for SEO first and foremost.
Reza?
Yep, Ram has said it already.
Very, very good. Very good. So guys, we're going to the final sprint here. We're trying to help entrepreneurs win building and maintaining digital assets, right? So we talked through a lot of things: social media assets, the website, live streaming. We talked about data. We talked about cloud. We talked about SEO. Lot of things in here right now, right? Now this pandemic, we don't know when it's going to end, but what is very certain is that behaviors have changed. Consumer behaviors have completely changed, right? And the first thing that they're looking to right now is search, right? And how things are coming to them is really through WhatsApp, right? People are sharing stuff, and as they are searching stuff, in the news feeds, other things are coming up. So the SEO also then becomes very, very important. Okay, so let's go back and recap this for all the entrepreneurs out there, right, guys? We agree that the first thing that we need to do is look at your audience. Decide on the widget, the products and services that you have, who is that audience that you're speaking to, right? And number two, then go slow, go easy, but build a digital presence. And we're saying that the website is important because it's an ability to collect the data. You can then reach out to them via your email marketing. You can remarket to them. Use social media. That's important to outreach and get people to engage with your content, because you get real-time feedback, engagement, and all of that. But try and push them back to your website, and think about your security, your UI, and your UX. Can that kind of like sum it up in terms of the entrepreneurs here today? And if I may ask Ram to add on to that.
Yeah. Look at what kind of storage solutions you use. Make sure you plan it from the inset, and don't be afraid of changing. If you find that you've implemented certain services, look, we live in the era of microservices. You're afraid of new tech stacks, just swap it out. Hey, if it's not working, swap it out. That's the wonderful thing about tech. Yes, you might have paid a bit for that, but it'll probably cost you a lot more to keep going with the same broken down old tech stack or storage solution that you're currently using that's costing you an unnecessary amount. Fix it. That's the nice thing about tech.
Reza?
Yeah, I think despite all the jargon, right, I think for a lot of SME, a lot of entrepreneur, when you want to go digital, as we have repeatedly said all over, is identify your audience, what they are, where they are, and how do they always get to you, right? And identify whether do you have to invest in SEO? Do people search this keyword online? Let's say you are selling tissue paper, right? So would people probably search a certain tissue paper keyword, or is there a certain type of tissue paper keyword that you need to do well on? And then you have to identify whether, as you said as well, a lot of content is something not indexed by Google or Facebook, right? They came through WhatsApp. So how do you want to, what kind of growth hack can you do to go viral? For example, when Kita Jaga went viral was basically not via Facebook, not via Instagram, not via Twitter, but mostly because of WhatsApp. So people are saying, perlukan bantuan makanan, sila forward ni kepada rakan-rakan, kan? So that went viral. I got that same message a few times myself. So that is another growth hack that is interesting. In fact, a lot of tech founder, tech startup right now, they try to look at the most efficient way to do marketing, which does not require them to constantly pump marketing money, right? If you have to consistently pump marketing money, that's dangerous. So that's why I think from when we start initially, we're talking about you need your website. Why do you need your website? So people can go to your website and then they can put their email and their phone number, so you can reach out to them directly, repeatedly, without having to incur much cost repeatedly, right? So that is why I think this whole gist of why we're trying to promote is important to have your website. And also yeah, I think and why you need to spend to do digital marketing to route this traffic to your website instead of just you route them to WhatsApp number where you entertain this query where you receive.
We got a final question, I think, here from Raihan Hadi. What are your suggestions to new entrepreneurs for mapping out an efficient workflow? What are the must-have skills in order to do that?
Okay. Well, first of all, understand how agile methodology works. Look, we're in a digital era. At least have a fundamental understanding. I've said the word fundamental so many times, Raymond, today, but
Yes.
make sure you understand the ecosystem. Okay. If you learn, you'll earn. And even when it comes to networking, cybersecurity, whatever it is, like digital marketing, how many times have we heard that term? What do you actually know about digital marketing? Have a grasp of it. You don't need to be an expert, but at least know what's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely true. Reza?
Yeah, Ram have said it nicely. What they need to do is you need to find a workflow. I mean, there's a lot of tools out there that can do various magical things. But if you are to sell something in which, let's say you are selling beauty products, and your target demographics, they don't open email. They maybe open email only once a month based on your research. So you need to look at maybe SMS marketing tool or WhatsApp marketing to reach them out more effectively. And also, you need to basically, I would say, plan the best way and the best tool to reach out to your target audience lah, because not all of them are created equally based on the audience that you have.
Gentlemen, fascinating. Really, I think, you know, a lot of this, we understand, we have a concept, but you guys have really put it down in together. So let's look at the final session, which is coming up on Thursday. Join us again tomorrow, Helping Entrepreneurs Win 2021, happening from Thursday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. I'll be joined by Aisha Adam from MNC Saatchi, and an industry veteran, Jamshed Wadia from Singapore, and we'll be discussing who is clear about digital marketing cost, transparency, and results. Marketing Magazine as our content partner, fantastic for putting this in together. Prof. Ham has been wonderful together with Basuki. Gentlemen, again, Ram, Reza, from myself, Raymond, the 3 R's here today. Thank you for your time.
Welcome.
And your insights. I think this has been really fascinating. Remember, guys, this video will be up on the Hubilo platform for the rest of the month. So please come back in, share that with your friends. These are things that you cannot just get out there. The two gentlemen here sharing their thoughts. Remember, fundamentally, you've got to pick up that information yourself. Try and learn the basics first before you go on and start building something a bit more sophisticated. On that note, again, gentlemen, thank you for your time. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys soon. Back to you, Hasro.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to the 3 R's, Raymond, Reza, and Dr. Ram for that informative and colorful discussion. I really love Dr. Ram's analogies. Very funny, but easy to understand. So thank you again, gentlemen. We'll now be moving to our next session of the day, which will begin very shortly. So do click join session and also complete the survey for each of the session for us to continuously serve you better. See you in a bit.